Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Well, very pleasant good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome into Life Planning 101 right here on KTX, KWBY. Terry Slavens with you and joined by Angela Kennedy Robinson. We have a great show on tap for today, Angela.
Yes, and we promise no shark bites after hearing that nice little introductory music. But it's all about a blue wave that could be imminent in November. And we are talking about the election and what this could mean for you. And I want to start out by saying this is going to be an apolitical show. I am going to provide some humor on both sides, but it is going to be an apolitical show, and it's just about the facts. And our goal with the show is that no matter what side of the aisle that you sit on, is that you can be aware of the tax impact of your unique situation and what you should or shouldn't be doing before 2021.
2021.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes. So let's talk about this for a second. And the reason we chose Jaws music with the blue wave it was the simple fact that there is an estimated tax revenue increase on Joe Biden's tax proposal of $4 trillion from 2021 to 2030.
Wow.
The reason I say that is it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, you could end up bitten by the tax man. He's a coming. So you need a lifeboat. We kind of talked about this last week in the show about how important it is to get some planning in order before the end of the year. And if you wait till November, it's probably going to be too late, because I'm going to tell you this, that every tax attorney and estate planning attorney are going to be booked. They're going to have the time. So you need to get on their books if you need to be doing something right now. And what are those somethings that you might need to be doing right now? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on the show. You know, if you're a business owner, you need to be doing something right now. If you have an potential estate tax issue, meaning that you have a net worth over, and my guess is $3.5 to $5 million, you need to be doing something right now. And as I mentioned last week, I'm already preparing for my family Christmas time to be swamped. Those, because really there's only 57 days from November 3rd to January 1. 57. Wow. So if you wait to the last minute, you might as well just turn on that Jaws music again. So, so let's take a look at this. Let's go to this Trump versus Biden proposal and see what we're after. And it's going to take us a bit of the show to get through this, but I want to also tell you at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about this blue wave theory, because a lot of people say, well, how likely is it for us actually to have Biden elected? How likely is it for Senate to turn blue? Or is it going to be more balanced in Washington? And we have some really cool predictions and things to share with you that you're not going to want to miss at the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But let's go through some of these taxes. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give you what's actual present law today, what Biden is proposing, and then what Trump is proposing if there's any changes. As we all know, he was responsible for signing the recent tax reform, so his changes aren't going to be as drastic as what you're going to see on Biden's side. So present law, let's talk about businesses. Let's start there, because as I mentioned in the first part of the show, this is an area that if you are a business owner, you need to be planning. Right now, if you're a C corporation, you have a 21% corporate tax rate. Well, Trump wants to keep that in place. He was the one that actually proposed that. I think his was actually a little bit less when he proposed that, but they came back with 21%. Biden wants to take that corporate rate back up to the 28% mark. What about that qualified business income deduction, that new deduction that pass-through businesses get of that 20%? If you remember, if you're a pass-through organization and your income falls below certain levels, you can take an additional 20% deduction on your business income. Well, Trump wants to make that permanent. Biden wants to repeal that deduction for taxpayers that have over $400,000 in revenue, or REITs, which is real estate investment trust dividends as well. So he does want to make some changes there. And then, here's the other thing that I think is really interesting to note is that right now we have what we call a like-kind exchange for real estate. When tax reform came out, it actually eliminated the like-kind exchange for equipment and non-real assets, but we've kept in place the ability that if you have a very low cost basis in a piece of real estate, you can sell that and use an intermediary to transfer that into a new piece of real estate so that you can keep deferring the taxes, to keep deferring the gains on that. Biden wants to repeal that. Get rid of it, okay? This is huge, especially for, I think, farmers, ranchers, landowners, because there's lots of times that you have property gifted it to you at your grandmother's cost basis. And we have one of these right now. We have an $8 million property that we're helping a rancher sell that has literally, I kid you not, $164 cost basis in it. Wow. Right? So this is a big, and they see this. I mean, this is just a big area for them to pull from the pot, right? And get money. The other biggie is that you got payroll tax increases for income earners over $400,000. So he wants to leave that gap in there. Right now I think it's like $137,000 or something that if you make over that, you quit paying your Social Security tax in, right? So he wants to leave that bridge, but once you hit the $400,000 range, then that 6.2% tax is going to come back on anything above that. So, that's a big deal. Right now, as you know, Trump is trying to support a payroll tax holiday through the end of the year in hopes that the Congress is just going to relieve that tax holiday. Funky little note on that, by the way. That is not actually relief at this point.
No.
It's deferral.
Yes.
So please know that. Please know that Congress has done nothing to wipe away that. He cannot do that with an executive order. So he did the best that he could with that situation and what he wanted to do, but he can't really make that relief.
Because you're going to pay it someday.
That's exactly right. So just a little side note. Now, with that being said, like I said, I want to make sure that, this is nonpartisan, because why are all these tax increases important? Well, I think obviously the Democrats love to spend money. They love social programs and doing more for the middle income individuals, low earning incomes. And some of the things that he wants to do with this is he wants to allow workers that are age 65 and older to claim an income tax credit if they're working, so earned income tax credit. People that are having to get childcare for their kids wants to up that you get actually more tax breaks if you're doing that. Creating, if you remember, there was a new first-time home buyers credit, I think back when Obama was in office, and he wants to re-implement that. And this is one I think is great. He's got a proposal that those family members that are providing long-term care to elderly or disabled relatives, give them some tax breaks up to $5,000, which I think is great. And then he wants to increase the health premium tax credit for those that are buying on the exchange through the Affordable Care Act. So I think, it's fair to be able to say, why are they increasing all these taxes? Well, there's the basis of it, is they want to increase some social welfare. And, truth be told, we have trillions of dollars of debt as it is. So there is that. So let's talk for a second about individual income tax. And really, this is the minor thing in the whole tax proposal, which is interesting. Right now, we've got a 37% maximum tax rate through 2025. Don't forget that. We have a tax cliff. We've been talking about this. This tax reform was not permanent. It actually phases out by 2026. So you have to remember that that's through 2025. Trump wants to make all that permanent. That's his goal. He wants to make all the tax reform permanent, every single bit of it. Biden wants to go backwards. He wants to take back what we were at, the 39.6% levels, and then those brackets as well, which Trump lowered the brackets. So in other words, if you had a higher income amount, you had a lower tax break, where Biden would actually say that that's a higher tax for that same amount of income. So, it's important to kind of look back at those schedules and see how that might affect you on an individual basis. But, like I say, really that's the least of it. Where there's some really big things is, like I mentioned, that repeal of the like-kind exchange for people that own real estate, because that's not just business owners, that's not just ranchers or farmers, that's people that just own real estate in general, and that could affect a lot of people. So with that being said, let's take a quick break, because there is so much more that we want to get through here. We're going to talk about investment income. We're going to talk about estate and gift taxes. We're going to talk about some new taxes financial transactions and wealth taxes? And are those actually probable? And don't forget, what are the chances of us having that blue wave this November? Right here on Life Planning 101 when we come back.
And welcome back, Life Planning 101, Segment 2, right here on KTX KDY. Angela has all kinds of great tax information for us this morning, Angela.
Yes, if you're wanting to know how taxes may affect your situation, no matter which way we swing in November, this is the show for you. Because I think there's some severe changes that you're going to want to know about and you need to be planning for. You need to be jumping in the lifeboat and getting some things in order because this is a lot more real than what we expect. So we've talked about business taxes. We've talked about payroll. We've talked about individual income taxes. Let's skip to investment taxes. So investment taxes. Now, right now, if you have capital gains, your maximum tax rate is 20%. Plus, there's a 3.8% to pay for Obama's Affordable Health Care Act. Okay, so they call that Obamacare tax. Biden, he wants to not let there be a preferential rate for taxpayers that have over $1 million of income. So in other words, if you pay 39.6% for income taxes, that's your capital gains as well. Now, he hasn't said there's going to be a financial transactions tax, but we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And you're like, what is that? You don't know because it's a brand new tax that's being proposed, and we're going to talk about it. Trump, he wants to support for actually reducing that 20% maximum. Very different strategies there, okay? And then estate and gift tax. And we talked about this last week in a lot of detail. You know, right now we're at $11.58 million for our estate tax exemption amount. That means if you have an estate that's worth less than that, you won't be taxed. In 2025, again, Cliff, it reverts back to 5 million, of course, indexed for that 2011 rate. Now, what does Biden want to do? He wants to return it to the historical norm. We're not sure what that means. 3.5 million is what Hillary proposed. 5 million has been thrown out there. We're not really sure. But whatever it is, it's going to be less than 11.58 million. So if you have an estate that is over 3.5 or 5 million, I highly suggest that you do some planning before November, before you cannot even find a lifeboat to get into, because it's going to be like the Titanic. There's not enough attorneys for the amount of passengers on this ship. So the other thing is, he wants to eliminate the step up in basis for inherited assets. That means if you inherit a piece of property that has a cost basis of $200, and right now, if you inherit that and it's worth $2 million, your new basis in that property is $2 million, which means you go to sell that property for $2 million, you owe zero taxes. He would say, nope. You carry over the $200 basis. So you sell that $2 million property, you owe taxes on $1.888 million, right? So can't do the math in my head, but big difference. And of course, Trump doesn't want to make any changes. He wants to make it permanent as it is now, step up in basis, because he created the rules, right? So let's talk about some of these new taxes, because this is a biggie. We all know that Biden is just going to be president. So if there's a Senate that's blue, if there's a House of Representatives that's blue, and they put out a proposal, and it's further left than what he is proposing, do you think he's going to sign it?
Yes.
Yeah, he will. So let's talk about some of these other candidates that were running for president, because I think this is where it gets real. They talked about two taxes, a financial transactions tax and a wealth tax. We're going to start with the wealth tax. How does it work? It's an annual tax on your net worth, what you're worth. In fact, I was listening to a show on Friday. California is actually proposing this in their House this week.
Wow.
It's going to require yearly evaluation of assets. And let me tell you, there's a lot of hurdles for us to actually implement this. There's been other nations that did this. There was 12 European countries that did it since 1990, and only 4 of them were still doing it by 2017 because they found out it costs more to administer than they were bringing in. Okay. But it is real. So let's give an example. Let's talk about Bill Gates. His current net worth is approximately about $107 billion. If Senator Warren's wealth tax would have been implemented, Gates would owe $6.4 billion in tax next year.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Bernie Sanders, his wealth tax, Gates would owe $8.3 billion in tax next year. Okay? So hypothetically, let's use Warren's and just say that 3% wealth tax had been in place since 1982. Instead of Gates' net worth being $107 billion today, it'd be about $36 billion.
That's crazy.
That is nuts, right? So is it constitutional? A lot of people, and this was even on the show Friday, is it constitutional? Well, it is and it isn't. So it depends. It depends. Or do we have blue or red? Okay, so let's just skip over that because it isn't, it isn't, right? And it really depends on who is in, all the right seats at the right time. So let's talk about the financial transactions tax because this is also on the bill for every single presidential nominee except for Biden. He was the only one that didn't propose this. Okay, so it's highly likely this could happen. And it would propose that approximately a 0.1% tax on all trades of stocks, bonds, and derivatives every time you traded them.
Really?
Yes. It would raise substantial revenue. Now, with that being said, again, the administration is a nightmare. And in Sweden, it failed miserably. Okay, so let's look at this because this is big. Again, we're talking about Joe Biden and we've mentioned some of the highlights in his tax proposal. Elizabeth Warren's tax proposal was very similar to his, just higher rates. There was a wealth tax. The exemption for estates was $3.5 million. The top estate tax rate was 45%. No step up in basis at death. Eliminate that. And you actually realize the capital gain at death, meaning you pay taxes. Ouch. Bernie Sanders, his capital gains rates went all the way up to 70. His income tax rates went up to 70. His estate tax rate was 77%. Again, wanted to eliminate the step up in death and the carryover at death. Nope. Going to realize it at death and pay taxes on it. Yes. So I think it's very real for people to be thinking that even though Joe Biden is a very moderate guy, it doesn't mean we're going to have a moderate tax proposal. This could be very extreme. So, what do you need to be doing about that? We're going to talk about it, and you're not going to want to miss it right here on Life Planning 101 when we come back.
Final segment, Life Planning 101, right here on KTX KDY. Angela?
Yes, we're talking about the 2020 election and taxes and what that means for you. And if you remember at the first of the show, we talked about the blue wave. Could it actually happen? Well, let's explore this for a second. I think we all know the presidential race. Yeah, I have a cartoon of two presidents having a debate with feet in their mouth, so I'm really up in the air on that. I can't give you any insight there, but I can give you some insight into what is actually going to happen in the House and the Senate. So in the House, they have a 20-seat majority as Democrats, and that's likely to stay. The Republicans only have a 3-seat majority in the Senate. 35 seats are up for grabs. 23 of those are Republican now. Now, only 1 or 2 of the 12 Democratic seats are in a catfight with a Republican. 6 or 7 of the Republican seats are in a catfight with a Democrat. So it's going to be close.
Yes.
It's going to be very close. Likely to stay in the House, stay blue. Senate, it's a toss-up. And if it goes 50-50, remember who gets the vote that breaks all the ties. Vice President. And if that's blue, we're blue. It is not a far stretch for this blue wave to happen. And the bottom line is, don't get caught without a lifeboat, right? 2020 is a great year. We need to be celebrating the ability to plan this year. I know there's a lot of things not to be celebrating. This is the ability to be celebrating. We have low tax rate. We have the CARES Act that provided even more tax relief and more tax planning opportunities. We have a huge transfer exemption amount, over $11 million, $23 million for a married couple. And we have tons of options to create flexibility, but you have to do it now. It's a use it or lose it situation. And like I said, if you wait till November and wait to see what the election happens, you're going to be on the Titanic without a lifeboat. There's not going to be an attorney available, or at least a good one. And planners are going to be booked. We're already booked. We're staying booked out a couple months in advance just trying to get plans done. It's huge. This is the time. And after all, a lot of people say, well, what if it doesn't happen? 2026 will.
Yes.
the sunset will. And because Trump would like to make all that permanent, but he's going to have pretty much a red Senate, red House, and almost every red governor in the entire United States to make an estate tax permanent. That's what it would take. So it's probably not going to happen. So with that being said, it's either 2026 or 2024 when we have another election. So you might as well just do it now. Like I said, plan now or pay later. Make sure that you're taking advantage of all these opportunities. And we just wish everyone, make sure you go vote. Make sure you're paying attention. Encourage your kids to vote. Actually, talked to a kid not too long ago. He said, well, I don't need to vote. My vote doesn't count. I live in a state that it already is decided. I said, no, furthest thing from the truth. So make sure you're educating people and letting them know you need to find out what's important to you and vote on those issues important to you. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. God bless everyone. God bless this country. And I hope we have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.